Good afternoon. My name is Tzitziki Felix. I apologize for the delay. I was just coming out from my national show, and taking a cab took a little bit longer. It's a great pleasure to be with you here today, and I'd like to welcome every single one of you. Have you been at the other workshops this morning? The first one? Excellent. Okay. Well, this is an empowerment series from Verizon Small Business, and this is about using social media. It's about empowering every single one of us. We have amazing people. How are you today? Also, we have a few familiar faces. Yes, a lot of you guys. How's everything going? Good? We have two amazing women today, and I'm sure you've seen them before. We have Monica Vila. She's the founder of Online Mom Media and small business owner. We also have Cheryl. Did I say it right? Cheryl Pearson McNeil, the Senior Vice President of U.S. Strategic Community Alliances. I gotta catch my breath. I was running up here. For Strategic Community Alliances and Consumer Engagement. Let's give them a great round of applause. Okay, to get started, we have the pleasure of hearing from Monica Villa, the founder of Online Mom Media. Tell us a little bit about it.
We're an agency that provides social media and influencer marketing services to large and small businesses.
And how did it get started?
In 2008, when the economy fell apart, we decided that it was really important to focus on growing small businesses and, until dust settled. So we left two big jobs and decided to reinvent ourselves, and thanks to social media, that's possible now for everyone. So.
Okay, Monica, before you go, give us a couple of examples that you, as a leader in this industry, have overcome. Any obstacles that you can share with us prior to going to the moderation?
Okay, obstacles. Well, other than my accent sometimes. No, I mean, in this industry, when I started, of course, I faced a lot of obstacles. I didn't understand English very well. But I think recently, when you're a small business, your biggest obstacle is to build your customer base. And how I overcame that really is, there's no shortcuts. You have to pound the pavement and talk to everyone and wait for that break. So.
Let's give her a great round of applause. Que se oiga un fuerte aplauso, por favor, para Mónica. We're definitely going to be hearing a lot about Instagram, Facebook, Google, and Pinterest. Also about your history and every question that we have for today. Now, we also have someone else that you're going to be talking to and asking questions. So if you want to prepare all the questions or any doubts that you may have and learn a little bit more about how to do business, is the other lady that we have. Cheryl is the Senior Vice President of the U.S. Strategic Community Alliances and Consumer Engagement for Nielsen. Nielsen, as many of you guys know already, is a provider of information and insights that measure what consumers watch, what we buy in more than 100 countries around the whole world, not just in Chicago or the U.S. Pearson McNeil is responsible for increasing the company's brand awareness among African American, Asian American, and Hispanic and non-for-profit organizations, leaders, and consumers, elevating their understanding of Nielsen's measurement services to assist and improving the overall probability of their inclusion in Nielsen's panels, studies, and surveys. Cheryl, welcome. Give us a couple of words before we start the moderation, please.
So Monica's going to start you off by telling you how to use social media, and I'm going to wrap it up by telling you who's using social media and what you need to know about your consumers as you go about developing those media lists and those marketing lists and your outreach lists.
Which go hand by hand.
They do.
Pretty much. Consuming, social media, and everything that's developing within that marketing. Now, we're going to be doing a lot of surprises today as well. We have something valued, very valued through Verizon, which is the LG G-Pad 8.3 LTE. Does anyone know what I'm talking about? Yes? Do you have it? Okay. We're going to give that away today. And we also have a $35 Verizon gift card. All of it Verizon Wireless courtesy today. Miguel Basail, by the way, is here with us. How are you, Miguel? It's good to see you. Now, let's start with a few questions for Monica. You know, we all have a lot of social media interaction. I'm sure we all use Facebook, and we try to make sure that we capitalize on it as much as it's growing. Who has questions about how to better inform our consumers and take advantage of these great tools that we have in our hands? Raise your hands. Go ahead. And speak very loud as much as you can. Your name first.
My name is Isela Andrade. How are you? And thank you for taking my question. I have a question in regards to Facebook specifically, because I know that if I create a post, it shows to certain people. Why is that? Why does it only show to certain people and others, they don't see the post?
Well, I mean, part of your confusion is due to the fact that Facebook changes these all the time, the rules of what people see. I think that if I go through quickly through the primer, that might help us set the stage and help you, with some questions. Because they change it all the time, so don't feel bad that you don't understand it, because they change it all the time. And, I think that's what happens when we use a borrowed platform, right? We all say, how come? I guess some people, when Facebook was down last month, they called the police station, they called the fire department. The fire department said, we don't know why Facebook is down. But yeah, so even though, it's used by 1.3 billion people today, they change the rules all the time. They do some experiments on us sometimes. So talk a little bit about that. But so I'm just gonna get you started in terms of, do you have a social business? Do you have a social organization? Do you think your business or your activity is social? And we need to stay a little up from social media, because really media connotes different set of definitions. So why is social so important? And I think you've seen this yourself, right? We trust people. We don't necessarily trust the logos. When I went to buy a minivan when my daughter was 3, I only had one. I was grappling whether I should buy a minivan, because that's what moms do, right? I went to my friends, and I went to see what they liked and what they didn't like. That's just the way we operate, right? We use trust. 92% of consumers trust user-generated content and word of mouth more than advertising. And it's actually getting a little worse, or a little stronger. The #1 source of information for millennials, say between the ages of 24 and 34 right now, is their close friends. And 84% of millennials do not really like advertising, hence the advent of TiVo, Netflix, all of those. So word of mouth, the recommendations, things we say, tell the people about brands, actually make 50%, almost 50% of all brand purchases. So everything we buy, the services that we use, usually are influenced by a shared opinion. In fact, McKinsey just published a report that said more than 2/3 of all economic activity in the United States is influenced by shared opinion. So really the goal isn't to be good at the platforms. The goal is to really grow your business using the platforms, right? So you still have to have good products, good service, and be responsive, but leverage these platforms to tell your story. And why? What does it mean? How does it translate into dollars? Well, first you build awareness. When you have a Facebook page for your university, you start gathering that first level of awareness when you start announcing, publishing your information. When you start getting some clicks or you start getting some likes, all of a sudden people are really moving along that path in consideration. They're starting to really consider your product or your service or your organization. And as they get to like you, they build a preference. And then that leads to purchase, hopefully, and then repeat purchase, which, let's not forget, one of the things that hasn't changed in business is the fact that 80% of your business is going to come from your existing customers. Right? So we have to be really good at retaining and keeping them loyal. brings your brand, your story, into the places people are talking about, right? So if you have a group of moms that are making a decision on a trip to South America, you want your airline to be part of that discussion, right? So you want to be there in that conversation. And that's really what this process is. It's for you to decide what's the right platform and then bring your story to it. And let me tell you why, too. Social is also changing so many of the things that we do. Has anybody used Airbnb? Airbnb is a way, is a platform you use to find a place to stay in various cities. In New York City in particular, it's become under a bit of an attack by the district attorney because some people are actually using illegal tenancies to rent space. But Airbnb is used by 11 million people. And 11 million people that would otherwise do what? To find a hotel room. So it's changing industries, and you have to be so aware. If you are in the housing industry, if you're in the hospitality industry, what's happening with Airbnb is important to you. 99 Designs, who knows 99 Designs? Incredible story, yeah. So if you're looking for a design, if you're a small business, and you want to redesign your business logo and create cards or build flyers, normally what do? You have to find a designer. You have to find someone that's good and persuade them, cajole the price. If you go to 99 Designs, you actually use an auction process. You say, I'm looking for a design, here's my brand, and the designers actually bid for your business. So you will look at a page within maybe 2 days of 50 designs options for you. And the one you pick is the one you pay for. At your price, by the way. So you say, I'm going to pay $300 to redesign my logo. So 99 designers that want to bid on that actually design something for you. And if you like it, you pay for it. How amazing is that? Etsy. Who knows of Etsy? Isn't it great? You know, 60 million people are buying things at Etsy. If you sell a product, specifically, if you sell a tangible product, take a look at Etsy to see if it makes sense for you. And so on and so on. If you search social platforms on Google, you get about 113,000 replies of queries. And it's just getting busier for every industry and very targeted. But it's a really noisy and crowded space. So to your point about Facebook, when you first log on to Facebook, there are already 1,500 pieces of content due to you. Not all of them shown, but you know there's a sidebar that keeps scrolling to all the pieces of content of the people that you follow, the brands that you follow. So it's not just about jumping on Facebook and hoping for the best. You have to really be smart about it. So I'm going to give you a couple examples because sometimes the theory is great, but the examples are always better. So I don't know if you know this chain of supermarkets called El Super. El Super is a chain of supermarkets in the West Coast. They're in Arizona, Los Angeles, and Nevada. And they started with one store. The CEO happens to be my brother-in-law. And this is what I persuaded him to go on Facebook. This is about 4 years ago. And I'm like, post the specials. And he kept saying, my market is not on Facebook. I'm like, put it on there. And so this is how they started. And it was, it was incredible. Carne asada, los miércoles, $3.99 a pound. I mean, that's incredible, right? So I said, put it on there. And slowly, the community went from, 40 people to now he has 4,000 people. And in some of the, areas like San Diego, where one of the stores is, that's a great number. It's good customers. And now, I saw his latest post. It's not job found because they're growing, and he didn't just use Facebook, but it was a great way to leverage that platform for all kinds of things. So he's still doing this. He's still posting the carne asada specials, but he's also doing other things like announcing his job fairs and special programs. This is a great example. This is another Polly's Pies restaurant, and they are such a great success story because they started their Facebook page and they post once a week. This thing about how often you need to be on Facebook. You have to be on Facebook, or you have to be on Twitter, you have to share when you have something to share. There is no magic number about frequency. Polly's Pie's restaurant posts one recipe a week, and then they do contests. They really share interesting things for the community. They pick that sweet, adorable kid. I hope they got permission to post this picture up, but and they use hashtags, so people really connect with the fun of it. Their community grew from 50 on Facebook in 1 month to 5,000 in 1 month. So think about that. It's one bakery in one city. Now they have, I think they're growing to now 2 or 3 more. But I don't know if you attribute that to one platform, but they have great customer service, really good pies, because if you look at their page, everyone that comments on the pies say they're delicious, right? So you still have to have that. This was one of my favorites. Botox for $8. I really thought, wow, that's gotta look into that. Keeping you away, surprise people. But Prolay's Laser Clinic, right? So here's a great example. Their business is to sell you Botox and other types of laser services. But at the same time, they decided to support the SGK Foundation for breast cancer. And those activities really galvanize their community and have helped them grow. Some of the people that do this really well, also large organizations like, I don't know if you know the WWE, for example, they also, they give $1 million a year to the Susan G. Komen Foundation. They support the vets, and they do that to, support the communities that are also their customers. So that's one way, right? You have the platforms that you want to use, and you want to use as visual as possible. Pick one. Don't try to be good at all. Pinterest, Instagram. How many of you actually have played with Pinterest? Okay. So here's an interesting fact. There are more people buying products right off of Pinterest or in connection with Pinterest than really almost any other platform. And so if you have a product that's visual, Verizon happens to have a great Pinterest page. Check it out. Fitness and all kinds of great ideas how to use tech. And so use Pinterest if you can, if you have a visual product. There's a lot of images. One other way that has been very successful is to stand out from the noise is to use influencers. And so what are these? Who are these people? So these are the people that are vocally talking about brands and that have a trust, a circle of trust. And we'll talk a little bit about that. So these are people that help us filter out that noise, right? When you have a choice between 2 cars and your trusted blogger that knows all about cars is talking about that minivan, you're probably going to give that minivan a second thought, first thought rather than dismiss it right off the bat. And this is how people make recommendations now. How many of you follow blogs that you like? There's some blogs that you like. Give me an example.
Oh, me? 2 years ago, I was following business schools.
Okay.
So.
And they have good blogs?
They do. They give you tips how to do the GMAT and then how to apply.
Oh, excellent.
So they go back and forth.
So here's a great point on that. Is if you add value, if you help people understand, educate, and share what you know as a brand or as a business, you're going to get people to favor your business because you're giving away knowledge and you're giving away education. Another example is, you obviously pick people for different topics. So if I trust Gina from Skinny Taste for food, her recipes are going to be on my shopping list. That's just going to happen. Right? I'm sorry, am I broken?
No, that's okay.
And that's kind of how you want to use influencers. Now, in your world, any local person that you think, even has a big family, moms are, by definition, and this is how we started our business, by definition, natural influencers. We connect with each other, we talk about what we like, we talk about what we don't like, and those are great advocates. If moms are in your target market, recruit moms to help you as influencers for your business. And there are all kinds of influencers now. Of course, you have the celebrities, the Kim Kardashians and such. You have people that have really good quality and create content for your brand. You have buzz builders, and then you have advocates and employees. The people that are closest to you, your employees, are going to have a lot of influence. And so this is a great metric to think about, because 41% of the people believe employees are much more trustworthy than the company's CEO or the PR department. So think about that. So it shouldn't be the CEO, it shouldn't be the head of the company, it really should be your employees, if they believe in your products and your services, to talk about it as much as possible and give your brand personality. So there's all kinds of ways in which you can work with, with your influencers. Group of friends. If you have a very small business and you're starting out, or you're building new communities or new customers, start with those closest to you. When we started Online Mom, the first people I called was the PTA. Well, after my mom, my cousins, and everybody in Mexico. You gotta follow my blog every single day, or else. And I would quiz them. I would go back, a couple times a year to. Google or birthdays. My grandmother turned 100, had a big fiesta for her, and I'd be quizzing them. Did you read my book? That's how I started. Those were my influencers, and it can grow that way. Let me give you another example of influencers. Black Box Wine hired 50 bloggers for 60 days. It wasn't cheap. It wasn't necessarily a cheap experiment. They spent about $35,000 on this process. They gave them all wine. In 60 days, they sold $250,000 worth of wine. A 348% ROI. Now, that was, a pretty intense campaign around a specific event, holidays, when we're all drinking a little bit more, And, but it was pretty remarkable how that was able to be measured. At this time last year, the NFL, who's one of our clients, came to me and said, we have a problem. Moms don't like the NFL all clear rule, which was we can't bring our bags into stadiums. They have to be all clear. Does anybody remember that rule? It was on Good Morning America. Mom saying, I'm bringing my bag to the stadium. And we're like, whoa. And they said, we need help because we need to explain why the rule is in place. The Boston Marathon had just happened. And we did an influencer campaign. We hired one person that was a big fan of each 32 teams. And we held Twitter parties. We had conversations and blogs and a lot of interaction for 2 months. And at the end of the campaign, the question was, do you understand why the NFL all-clear policy is in place? 83% had said no in the beginning. At the end of the campaign, 76% said yes. So you are able to also change sentiment, how people feel about your brand. So say you had a little problem or maybe some small crisis or whatever dip in your business, which we all experience all the time. Social platforms can help you change that sentiment and the feeling around it. I will talk a little bit about Verizon, with permission of our sponsor, all publishable information. The program that we help run with good people at Verizon involves social media, a lot of conversation. And what we decided to do was we wanted to educate people on how to live the mobile life, according to whatever the mobile life means to you. And do you know that we use less than 30% of the features of our phones, of our smartphones? Less than 30% on the average. I might use 32 because I'm looking at it all the time. So there's a lot of apps, there's a lot of ways to leverage your business, your smartphones to run your business. And we thought it would be worthwhile to just provide that information, hire experts to share that. We share that on Twitter every day now, but we started with once a week Twitter chats, educating people on how to use activity trackers to be healthy, what are all the apps that we can use to be productive, how to run your business remotely. Don't we all do that now, I guess? Write blogs even on our devices. And that program is now in its 3rd year, and we reach about 5 million people every week with this campaign. This is an example of the Pinterest board that Verizon uses now. I really encourage you to see it. We had the world's best dad competition. There were things like home on the go. We have the longest Pinterest board you've ever seen. As a way to exercise your fingers. It's a fun, interesting, but full of good information And yes, some links to some of the products that we talk about there. Because ultimately, we want everyone to have Verizon tattooed on their hands and defend us. That actually, I think, did happen, but I'm not really sure it's not a picture. And that's it.
It's like representation.
Yeah. So if you have any questions or if there's any, yeah, go ahead.
How do you feel about Instagram? How does it fit into?
Yeah, you guys hear well, or do you want her to use the microphone real quick? Would you rather use the microphone just to make sure?
He has it over there. Yeah.
For you?
Oh, for me? Oh, I see.
Just in case that they
Oh,
want.
Instagram is a great platform. The only thing is with Instagram, you cannot provide links every time you post, right? So just be aware of that. It's a really great visual platform. So if you have a business that's visual, yes, by all means, it's a fun platform. But you can't post a link right here.
Did we answer your question? Did we answer your question?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
So aside from Facebook, what other app is popular
useful?
with moms?
Oh, okay. So moms are your thing. Definitely Twitter, and you should follow #TheOnlineMom because it's since 2008 it's a community we talk all the time. So when you follow the hashtag, you can see all the conversations that are being had by moms, pain points and such, and you can jump on that conversation and reply to people. Say, what is your product?
Online services.
Okay, so if you have an online service, you can say, we may be able to help because this is what we do. And you have to listen a lot. It's again, being social. If you have a friend and you don't listen to your friend, that's not going to be very social, right? So spend a lot of time listening to that.
Any more questions?
When it comes to your business, and right now hashtags are so popular, how do you choose what are the correct hashtags for your business?
It's such a great question. All are good questions, but this is a fast-moving thing. If you want some brand recognition on your hashtag, include that. For Verizon, quite often we use VZW. For the NFL, we always have the NFL. For Xbox, we always have Xbox. But if you're interested in talking about a specific theme, say, for example, photography, you can use that. And then everyone that posts and reads that hashtag is going to see what you post. Creating your own hashtag, basically the rule is make sure it's not too long because it needs space on Twitter. And second, that is somewhat easy to understand. The Ice Bucket Challenge, how many of you did the Ice Bucket Challenge? Ice Bucket Challenge in Chicago? Wait, I'm going to challenge all of you. Right, so that was a hashtag used specifically for that campaign. It was short-lived. But if you have a brand, say your brand's name, give me a name, for example.
Licensed furniture.
And that's the name of the business?
Yes.
Licensed furniture. You could use licensed F or L furniture, for example, as a great hashtag because then it will be yours. What you should know is when you start on Twitter, when you start on Facebook, and you think, well, nobody's listening, nobody knows I'm here. Like, how do I? The rule number one you have to do is follow. So if you have a small business, follow everyone around you. Follow as many of the businesses around you. Follow the government. Follow. So start by following because then people will follow you back. And when you add hashtags, say your business is about healthcare, right? You guys are in medicine, healthcare, and providing those kinds of services. Education. Every time you put something on Twitter, add that hashtag. Education, air travel, healthcare, photography, Botox. I don't care what, business, add that hashtag, the generic hashtag, because anybody that's following those will see your tweet and possibly follow you. So you start by following people and people will follow you back.
Trying to debate if Facebook would be our niche or not. So right now we're currently on LinkedIn and that's kind of going very well. So what would your recommendation be?
Yeah, I would not use Facebook. If my first instinct wouldn't be Facebook, I would say definitely Twitter. LinkedIn is your natural platform, but expand everything you're doing with Twitter. And so they should feed into each other. And also it depends on the types of people that you're, assisting and, hiring. For example, in the case of El Super, where they don't go to LinkedIn for recruitment. So it depends on the trades and the people that you recruit, but I wouldn't go to Facebook and spend that time. I definitely focus on Twitter. And have a chat. Talk to people about how to get hired and how to hire and share value, not just broadcast. These platforms are not for you to extend promotional messages. One of the worst words you can use on platforms, social platforms, is sweepstakes, contests, those kinds of words. People are very turned off by those. So, okay. Well, thank you so much.
Monica, thank you. Did you do the Ice Bucket Challenge
Yes,
already?
I did.
Excellent.
It was
Let's
very
give you a great round of applause as well for the social media. Great information. There were two stories that came up this weekend regarding social media, Facebook specifically. I don't know if you guys heard about it. One of them is taking away all those little links that ask you to share the link before you can actually see the video or the content. Do you guys get a hold of that story? That is very interesting. That tells you how much the social media is changing, and thanks to Monica Villa that was able to explain to us to a very, very deep level how this is going. And that has to do a lot with our next guest today, because she, an expert of Nielsen ratings and the consumption that we all create on social media, can also explain to us how this news, content, and everything that we considered as legitimate and genuine is changing, as well as social media has an impact in our business. I also want to remind every single one of you that you have to stay until the end of the presentation if you want to be part of the raffle. Remember that we have a raffle going on today, and also that you can also participate by doing a hashtag. Let me give that to you. It's hashtag VZW small biz, B-I-Z. You guys get it? Hashtag BZW small biz. That's the hashtag that we're going to be using today. So I invite you to start some activity and we can talk a little bit more about it. Remember that one lucky winner today is going to be taking home a LG G-Pad 8.3 LTE, as well as a $35 Verizon gift card. Now let's go with Sharon and let's start some of the conversation about how we do all the consumption and the Nielsen ratings. Cheryl.
While they're waiting to get this up on the screen, you should have in your chairs the full packet, and we're going to start going through the packet. I always get asked at the end of any presentation that I give, people come up and say, oh, we love the numbers. Can you share the numbers with me? So you have the numbers, and you'll be able to use them as you see fit. So Nielsen has been, over the last 4 years, been doing very segmented reports on ethnic communities and consumers. We started with the African American consumer. We then rolled out a report on the Hispanic consumer, and now we're also doing them on women and LGBT and Asian consumers as well. So what we want to talk about today is how to ensure that your small business is using the insights and information to your credit to ensure that you are capturing the consumer that is important for your business to grow. So there are 3 things that we want you to walk away with today. Number 1 is knowing who your audience is and knowing that you can't reach everybody the same way. And so Monica gave some very I think apt descriptions of like who you can reach on Twitter and who you can reach on Facebook. So it's really important for you to kind of know who your consumer, who your audiences are, and that you can't have a one-size-fits-all model. The second thing is being really innovative. Look around you. What you see in this room is your competition to a certain degree because they're all going after consumers and they're vying for consumer attention. So you want to make sure that you're being as innovative as possible, that you're staying ahead of the curve, and that you're actually sharing insights that are going to be helpful to your business, your clients, before they actually need them, okay? And then the last thing that I love to say is under-promise and over-deliver. It's really very important. It rings so true. When you can exceed a customer's expectations, they'll talk about it to their friends. You heard how word of mouth is really very important. And so that ripple effect ensures that your products and services that they're getting from you can't be matched someplace else. Slide 3. What you should know about your multicultural consumer. You have to seize the opportunity and know your audience. You need to know what makes them tick, how they spend their time, where they spend their time, and give them a reason to spend their time and money with you. And you, and you, and you, okay? And we're going to accelerate the importance of understanding multicultural marketing. So let's get to know the consumer better. Slide 4. You should know that as multicultural consumers, we are really growing very rapidly, and you should not ignore us. Businesses should not ignore us. Corporations should not ignore us. We need to understand our power, and we need companies to understand our power as well, because right now, in the year 2000, there were 30% of the population were multicultural. And that's supposed to rise to 39%, excuse me, by 2020. In 2040, we're going to be 50% of the entire population. 50%. That's a lot, you guys. That's half, right? So we can't be ignored, and we need to understand that power. The leading culture in terms of population growth is the Asian American population right now, in terms of how quickly they're growing. From the year 2000 to the year 2013, Asian Americans experienced the highest growth rate for multicultural segments by growing a whopping 57.8%, right? Right now, the leading ethnic group in the terms of population size is who? Hispanic, so I know we all know that. And African Americans right now stand at 43 million strong. So when you add those numbers together, you can see that you can't ignore millions and millions of consumers, because to do that, you're doing a disservice to your business. You also need to know the immense buying power that we're on slide 5, that multicultural consumers and how we energize the U.S. economy. So collectively right now, $2.9 trillion is what we're spending. $2.9 trillion. That's larger than a lot of the economies around the globe. They would not, could not ignore countries that have the size of a buying power, so they would not, should not, could not, as we say with Dr. Seuss, ignore us, right? We shouldn't. This represents a huge opportunity for your business. The numbers are impressive. In 2013, $1.2 trillion of the Hispanic market is larger than the entire economies of about 15 countries in the world. Yes, including Turkey, Indonesia, right? And despite the massive amount of buying power these multicultural consumers collectively have, the majority of top advertisers are still not investing enough money with us and our businesses. We can actually impact that change. We can use social media to start our own movement. We can use this to empower ourselves once we know some of these interesting facts, and once we continue to do business with ourselves. Okay? Slide 6. Hispanic consumers account for an annual buying power of $1.2 trillion in the United States, the most spending power of any other multicultural group. And by 2016, that's expected to increase to $1.5 trillion. And this is a demographic that you want to get to know. I know you think you know them because you are Hispanic, but you have to know all of the segments within the culture. That's what's really important. So let's take a little look at the Hispanic population. We like to say that Hispanics are 200%. 100% American and 100% Latino. Okay? They don't have to decide which side of themselves to express. It's called being ambicultural. And Latinas in particular are really embracing both sides of themselves. So there are 54 million Hispanics in the United States, representing 17% of the population. And as the largest ethnic group, the Hispanic population is more than half of Mexico's entire population. We're growing in it, and I say we, although technically I'm not Hispanic, but I talk about it like a lot, and I play one on TV. I'm just sitting here. Can I be Cuban? Because I've been mistaken for being Cuban before, so, you know.
We'll invite you. You can, yeah.
Thank you. I can be an honorary Latina. Okay. Hispanics are young and connected, and 59% are under the age of 35. Why is that important? Anybody? Why is that important? Millennials, social media, future buying power. Ding, 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 ding. He needs to get a Verizon card. So 59% is huge because if advertisers can capture you before you turn 34, or if they can capture you when you're between the ages of 18 and let's say 25, when you're not really making any money, because I don't know about you, but my kid has no money other than mine. However, if he can be captured and become loyal to a brand at an early age, the chances are that he will stick with that brand until he actually has his own money, and then he'll be spending his own money to buy the brand that he prefers, right? So this is something you need to keep in mind for your respective businesses as well, is understanding, do you have a product or service that can actually benefit a younger demo? And if so, really try to tap into that because they tend to be very loyal as they go along, okay? Slide 8. Hispanic consumers rise in homes that speak both English and Spanish. So we talked about the multicultural and the willingness to function completely in two different cultures. And it's not a transition between the two cultures, it's more of an ability to function both seamlessly in a simultaneous fashion. So as you can see from the chart here, Hispanics' ability to speak both Spanish and English equally has grown in the last 10 years at 87%. That's a really big growth spurt. And this is something as a business owner you want to pay attention to when marketing to Hispanic consumers in the U.S. because Spanish language marketing's ROI, return on investment, was 28% higher than English language marketing. So that's important for you to know. So if you can do marketing both ways, you really should try to take advantage of it. Have an English language website and a Spanish language website. Have your marketing materials in both, right? Because it's an opportunity. Slide 9. I gotta introduce you to the upscale Latino. That's all of y'all here in this room. Okay? Welcome, welcome, welcome. So the upscale Latino household refers to households making $50,000 to $100,000 with a median annual income of about 70. And that's nearly identical to the upscale non-Hispanic counterparts. So this group of Latino consists of about 15 million of us. 15 million in the United States, which is an increase of over 2 million just since 2010. So just in the last 4 years, our household incomes have grown and to $50,000 or $100,000 higher. That's pretty significant. Currently, the upscale segment generates 37%, bless you, of the Hispanic population's $1.2 trillion buying power. So again, when you're thinking about who I want to market to, who is really important for me and my business to go after, you really may want to look at that upscale Latino and determine if that's someone that you should be targeting. When looking at demographic information like household size, age, and regional distribution, upscale Latinos be similar to overall Hispanics. So let's take a look at what that looks like. 75% of upscale Hispanics and Hispanics are under the age of 45. So again, it's right after the 35 and under to 45. So you've got another big window where you see that I'm making money when I'm 45 or under. Used to be you didn't start making a lot of money until you hit your 50s or whatever. So this is really important for you to know. And upscale Hispanics have larger households than their non-Hispanic counterparts. 77% of Latino upscale homes have more than 4 people living in their households. So it's important for you to keep that in mind as well in case you have products or services that are targeting other generations or children in a household. Okay? And like I mentioned earlier, more than half, on slide 10, more than half of the Hispanic population is young, under the age of 35. 79% of Hispanics own smartphones. And if you kind of take a look at how smart those phones are, they tend to be expensive phones depending on how smart they are. So you may have a not so smart phone, and you may have a really smart smartphone, and you'll find that if we kind of calculated those dollars out, Verizon, if you took a look at the fact that 59% of Hispanic is under 35, and 79% own smartphones. So if you did the math real fast in your head, there are 54 million Hispanics and almost 80% own smartphones. That's a lot of phones. That's my math. That's a lot. Right? That's a lot. And so if you're trying to reach people, you gotta use something that works on their mobile phones. So you may be designing your websites, etc., to work on laptops, but you're missing out on 79% of the population who can do things using their smartphone. And not all your platforms are going to translate seamlessly from your laptop website to your smartphone or your mobile website. So make sure you're keeping that in mind when you're designing your marketing strategy. And considering the higher penetration rate in radio among Hispanics, it should come as no surprise that music is a key component of Hispanic life, as 97% of Hispanics listen to music at least once a week. 97%. Do you have local radio in your advertising plans, or even a 10 or 15 second spot, or are you looking at perhaps doing something on a radio, again, for the actual ad itself on radio? Are you looking at how you can possibly incorporate something on the radio station's website, right? So think about ways that you might possibly be able to do that. Yes, sir?
Are people actually listening to radios or listening to radio channels on apps on their smartphones?
This is actually radio. This is actually radio because I didn't incorporate streaming, etc., in some of these data points, but this is radio. They're still listening to radio. Good question. Number 11. Let's move over and take a look at the African American consumers. And I'm giving you the stats on African American and Asian consumers as well, because I think it's important. Just don't do business with just one group of people, right? So Asian and African Americans we're going to talk about as well. $1 trillion of spending power with African Americans. There are 3 things I want you to walk away knowing on slide 12. What incredible spending power we bring to the table, and how that power is primed for continued growth. Blacks are highly influential trendsetters, and they can be used when you're trying to reach other consumers. And lastly, a generic general market communication strategy shouldn't be a best practice for reaching us. Now, I'm black now, so. While connecting with us culturally should be. So let's take a look at that black power. So 14% of the black population is black. That's 42 million. Whenever you're doing numbers, it's helpful for you to break out what a percentage looks like, because 14% doesn't sound like a whole heck of a lot. 17% of the population being Hispanic doesn't sound like a whole heck of a lot if you don't know how many people there are in the United States to begin with, right? But when you take a look, 17% of the population is Hispanic. There are about 300 million people in the United States. Then you start to see, well, 54 million is nothing to sneeze at. The same 44 million is nothing to sneeze at. That's not, when you take a look at the fact that our populations are larger than some countries, like Canada, right? No one's going to ignore Canada. So again, take a look at some of these numbers. If we go, we're going to stay here, I'm sorry. 53% of blacks are under the age of 35. So again, we're doing that same kind of thing, understanding that there's youthfulness there as well. And it's relevant because that 18 to 34-year-old is coveted, but also they tend to be trendsetters, and they get something started that other people tend to follow. So we're voracious consumers of media. African Americans watch 39% more television than any other market, and 73% of us own smartphones. Take a look at slide 14. 73% of whites and 67% of Hispanics believe that blacks influence mainstream culture. So what was once a black thing is now a total market thing, right? So how many of you wanted to be like Mike? Right? Okay, there's one bold hand went up in the back. Wanted to be like Mike. How many of you remember what a big controversy it was when the president and first lady gave a fist bump, and it was like, ooh, that's so black. They're gonna fist bump. And now people are fist bumping kind of regularly. Anybody, this is for all the old schoolers in the house, remember back in, I don't know, maybe 20, 30 years ago, somebody named Bo Derek? She had braids, and she was running on the beach. Those braids were black. She had her hair all braided up. We started that a long time ago. Bo Derek made it in vogue and fashionable. So keep in mind that if you want to get a buzz started, that sometimes using a person of color who happens to be black and hip, that they can probably get that buzz started for you in reaching other consumers. And Michael Jackson, he's known as the king of pop. His music is considered American music. It's not considered black music, right? All right, slide 15. When you're taking a look at how to reach us, blacks actually believe that 81% believe that products advertised on black media are more relevant to us. And 73% believe that black media keeps us in touch with our heritage. So to frame it up, that's 39 million people believe that, respectively, that tell you that they will spend their money with you if you're inclusive of black people who look like them. So, and sometimes, you know, you can get a twofer, like I may look black, but I may be something else. And so maybe you can put somebody who looks a little bit different on your ads and get a 2-for-1 when you're looking for models. So that's just something to kind of keep in mind. Let's take a look at the Asian consumer power. $713 billion right now. Slide 17. Marketers need to understand first that Asian American communities' impact and their influence is growing. Like I mentioned earlier, it's the fastest growing multicultural segment in the United States, and it's a powerful economic force that can represent significant growth opportunities for our nation's economy. Asian American spending is significant and is expected to reach $1 trillion in less than 3 years. Asian Americans are culturally connected to their roots and their heritage, and marketers should understand the importance of cultural relevance and how heritage shapes their buying and watching behaviors. And they're digital pioneers. No secret. If you really want to know that adopting technology, they adopt it faster than anybody else. And they're very highly influential, because I like pay attention to my Asian friends who tell me what's like coming up on the technology horizon, because I think they know what they're talking about, because they invest their time and energy in researching things. If you take a look at slide 18, 75% of Asian American adults are immigrants. That's 3 out of 4 Asian American adults. 3 out of 4. And this is important because what Asian Americans decide to buy is often influenced by their shopping habits and preferences from their native countries. So with cultural values as immigrants or as children of immigrants, that means that a unifying cultural value is to obtain the best product at the lowest price for themselves and their family. That's what counts for Asian consumers. The best product at the lowest price. So they're very, very value conscious. In fact, 78% say that they enjoy shopping around before making a purchasing decision. So if you're advertising products, you may want to, if there's a service that you're offering, or if there's a physical, tangible product that you're offering, and you want to ensure that you've got the Asian consumer's attention, you may want to do the comparative analysis for them. You may want to say, our price for the product is $5 versus, $10 you'd have to pay somewhere else. Okay? 5% of Asian Americans are swayable shopaholics. Swayable shopaholics. So if that price is something that meets with their need, they can be swayed. All right? Asian Americans spend 33% of their dollars on deals compared to 27% of non-Asians, and they're willing to pay more for quality. So if you're looking to market to Asian American consumers, you can attract them with good deals and use the internet as a vehicle to grab their attention. Slide 19. Asian Americans are digital pioneers and have higher technology penetration rates across many new technologies. Asian Americans are twice as likely to spend $2,500 or more per year on internet shopping. How many of you are selling anything online? Anybody? A couple. Okay. So Asian Americans are more likely to buy products online than any other group. 77% of Asian Americans made an internet purchase in the past year. And they're also 15% more likely than the general population to say they'll recommend technology and electronics that they like to others, making them potential advocates of new innovations from technology companies. Okay, let's go to 20. Not only did the Asian American population grow from 20 to 2013, so did their incomes by 97%. Woo! So I may be Chinese when you see me tomorrow. They're 54% more likely to have incomes of $100,000 or more compared to total U.S. households. Okay? The spending power is there and only getting bigger. Yes, sir.
Well, so how many are there?
How many Asians are there?
Asian American.
Yeah, there are 19 million in the United States right now. Yes. I'm sorry, I thought I said that. There are 19 million. Okay, so number 21. So to seize the opportunity, you need to be innovative. Business owners have many definitions. I'm on slide 22 now of innovation. For consumers, you guys just need one definition. You offer me a product or service that resolves an unmet aspiration. So is your product, your service, whatever it is your business is, are you meeting an unmet need for me? Can you answer that question with your products? So if you think about what you're offering, can you tell me how many of you think that you're providing something that no one else is providing for me? Or that you've got a different slant or a different take on what you're offering, right? Because what's going to make, again, me spend my time and my money with you versus someone else who may be offering that exact same product or service? So it's called a unique selling proposition, which I know you guys all know, but sometimes we don't make it as clear as it could be when we're doing our marketing and when we're designing our websites and when we're using social media. Okay? Slide 23. So this is what winners do. We look at what corporations who had new products and how they were marketing their innovation as part of that. And so what they did is they framed their products as services, right? So toothpaste that is, going to whiten my teeth is becomes a service of, I don't know, it helps me get attention because my teeth are whiter and I can get a job. I mean, there has to be a service component to your product. So if you can frame it as a service, again, it goes back to meeting that need. It's a little bit easier than just thinking of your product as a product. They seek opportunities that bring new users or they address new circumstances of use. So baking soda was an excellent example of that. So baking soda used to be used for baking. Now you can use it to brush your teeth, to refresh your refrigerator, to sprinkle in your clothes when you're doing a wash, to wash your vegetables with. They've invented new ways to use that one product. And blacks, we think of our own ways to use your products, right? So I don't know if you guys did, but when I was growing up, we used to take baths with like Dawn, the dishwashing detergent. We use that as bubble bath. That's just our culture. So think of different ways that you can actually use your products or that others can use your products once they buy them. Because at the end of the day, do you care if they buy it? Do you care what they use it for? As long as they come back and use it again? Just saying. And then they also use their transferable lessons from the innovation efforts that didn't work. So let's say you tried and you failed at a couple of different product concepts or whatever. Don't let that discourage you. Let that promote what you need to think about the next time and use that to propel you forward. So they don't just look at the failures and think, well, that didn't work, so I'm just going to scratch it totally and try something brand new. They look at what didn't work, map out and figure out why it didn't work, and try to take it to the next level and try to invent something else or try to market it a different way. So they use their failures and their successes. To seize the opportunity to succeed, you need to understand that customer service shouldn't be a department, it should be an entire company. The CEO of Zappos said that, an entire company, right? You can't just have you thinking, well, you know, we'll have customer service deal with that product, that process, or with your complaint. It really is important for everyone to determine that, hey, we're going to be the best that we can and offer our clients, our consumers, our best ever. And if there's anything that's going to go wrong, we're all going to take responsibility of it. I know a person in customer service, my sister, she wouldn't be happy to hear this, but you know, she works for a company and she said the lady called her and the lady was really upset and you know, she goes, I was trying to help her, but she just didn't want to be helped, and so I just put her on hold. And I'm like, well, why'd you do that? She goes, because she wasn't mad at me. And I said, she said she was mad at the company. I'm like, you are the company. When I call whoever I get on the phone, that's the only contact I have with your company. And if the attitude for the person answering that phone call, whether it's the receptionist, whether it's, you know, your salesperson, if that attitude is not reflective of what you want it to be as your business, you need to get rid of those people. I'm not trying to put anybody out of work. But it's not a department, it's the entire company. Number 26, what I know for sure. So when we do business with consultants, what I know is when you miss a deadline, you never get a chance to miss another one with me. You will not. Now I'm talking is we with Nielsen, the company. I need to make sure I can count on you to do and to deliver what you've sold me. And so it's really very important that you take my needs and consideration in mind, and that you, again, over-deliver, under-promise, right? Integrity matters. If there's a mistake on the part of somebody on your team, own it and fix it. And that will help us just move on. But don't deny that it happened, or don't put the blame back. Well, your team didn't do it. Really? You don't blame me? Okay. All right? I will catch it. So don't think that you can cover something up, because chances are I'm gonna, like, if I don't catch it, somebody on the legal team is gonna catch it. We're gonna catch it. And it would be better if we heard that something didn't work or didn't happen correctly coming from you, again, in customer service, than for us to point it out to you. And then, this is a big one. Hire help when necessary. So a lot of times when you're trying to do business with corporations and there's an RFP, which can be pretty extensive, and it's not your area of expertise, hire somebody who knows how to do it for you. Spend the dollars to get the business. Don't think that you can fake it, because you know, when you're getting in tons of RFPs from multiple businesses, we can tell those who get it right away and those who don't. So if it's not your area of expertise, you guys hire it out. Hire somebody to help you with that. Common mistakes businesses make, and this came from our VP of Supplier Diversity. He says that they have a lack of patience or understanding of corporate sourcing and buying process. So, for example, Nielsen, we try to ensure that our smaller suppliers get paid in a much shorter frame of time than our normal business relationships get paid, because we've got a 75-day net payment plan for our larger companies that we do business with. Some businesses that are smaller, you can't do that 75 days, right? And so we try to make sure that we can go 30 days, maybe 45 at the outset. But it's really important for you when you're dealing with larger businesses, if that's what you want to do, is to understand they're not just sitting there waiting to do business just with your business. So I don't have a checkbook in my office where, you know, you can call me and say, this happened. Cheryl, can you process that invoice today? Well, Cheryl has to have India involved because all of our checks are processed in India. So it used to be companies would have like a petty cash or a checkbook that they could write out and give you a check. We can't do that. So I have to send all of my requests out to India. So understanding and getting that understanding before you start to do business with the company is really important. What's your turnaround time for pay? How long do I need to, anticipate before I can have a response from you or someone on your team, right? Understanding that we get your business is really important to you, and it's important for us to do business with you, but sometimes we have multiple other projects that we're working on at the same time. So just understand that there's sometimes a bit of a delay. Lack of professional approach. Again, if you're not sure how to do something, ensure that you get help or ask someone before you actually go into a business meeting, and ensure that you're going into the meeting prepared to operate on the terms of the company that you're trying to do business with. Be really realistic about your capabilities or capacity. We're a global company. We love to do business with you. If we get excited about your product or service, can you offer it to us globally? Do you have the manpower to scale up quickly? Something to keep in mind. And then one of the other mistakes is that selling products and services in overly saturated categories. So you have a temp agency. We have a lot of temp agencies that come to us to say, well, we can help you hire staff. So if you haven't offered me a reason that I should hire your temp agency over another one that I can use globally, and this is a big one, then kind of take a step back and look at what can my temporary employment services offer companies that they can't get from someone else. I'm actually looking a lot for companies that have in-language employees, so that when we go out and do our event activations, that we've got people who actually speak fluent, flawless languages, whether it's Korean, whether it's Cantonese, whether it's Spanish, whatever the language is, we want to make sure that we've got people who can actually speak the language. So make sure you've got that. And then on your slide 28, you will find a list of the types of services that Nielsen buys. And so if any of you are in this business and you want to know who to connect with or how to do business with us, I've included the information there on how to get connected with Nielsen. And on slide 30, I've included the individuals who actually will be managing your relationships into the company and sharing it with our business leaders across the globe. So it's a lot of information. I'm sorry I tried to rush through it, but I just thought it was important that you kind of knew that. Any questions that I can help? Thank you.
Thank you, Cheryl. Amazing presentation, great information for every single one of us. Now we run out of time. Feels like radio or TV, right?
Right.
Right. Just a reminder, the hashtag is VZW Small Biz, BIZ. And as we all know, technology is changing and evolving, and a proof of that is what Monica Villa was letting us know. 30% of the phone, that's all we use, the capacity. So I'll invite you to keep the Verizon flyers that we have here, as well as inviting or asking any questions to the Verizon people that we have, just to know, how much capacity we can actually use and capitalize on. As well, I would like to invite Carol Dammit, because she's going to announce our Verizon giveaway winner today. Are we ready?
And if anyone didn't place their business card to us,
Yeah. Last effort. Absolutely. We're going to be drawing the name of a winner for an LG G-Pad 8.3 LTE, courtesy of Verizon. And also a $35 Verizon gift card. So whoever hasn't given their information, please do so right now. And Carol is getting ready. And now, just before we get the last information from whoever wants to participate, do we have any questions for these wonderful guests, ladies, today, and the information they've shared?
Yeah, for Monica, if I am posting something on Facebook, and Twitter, and Instagram, and I want to do one message, would I put the same message on all three?
Yeah. And you can also repeat the message, right? So if you post something on Twitter at 10 a.m., you should repeat it later on in the afternoon. And not on Facebook, but certainly on Twitter, because not everyone is going to see that tweet as it scrolls through the screen. So repeat your important messages often.
Any more questions? Okay.
Yeah, just one for Cheryl. Is it okay to share the information?
Absolutely. As a matter of fact, if you go to nielsen.com, Nielsen, we've got all of the full reports on, if you click under reports, you'll see all the reports that we have. We've got a great one on the Latina Power Shift, if you just want to know about Latinas and their power, because Latinas and African Americans and Asian Americans at Nielsen.com.
One more question there?
Pardon me?
Do you have any Spanish?
The reports themselves are not in Spanish, but we do have a in-language microsite that does have information in Spanish. So Nielsen.com/Latinos.
Perfect. Please raise your hand. Next question?
Yeah, you mentioned changing people how. Yeah, sorry.
For Monica.
Yeah, you mentioned changing how people feel about product using social media. What's the timeline that you usually kind of gauge on being able to kind of flip that feeling?
The sentiment
Yes,
of your brand.
sorry.
So say you had a problem and you want to change the sentiment, or more, they think of you a certain way, but you want them to think of you a different way. Is that more like it? In that case, you just have to be very creative and use different points, right? So say you want to persuade someone to think of you not just as a social media agency, but also as a ad agency. You want to add a lot of value about your new expertise in different ways, right? So you want to say, here's all the things I've been doing, here's my background, here's all the reasons and facts. But I also think that on social, more is more. And if you're creative and respectful, right? So if you tweet 50 tweets in a row, that's not going to be good, of course. But if you spread them across platforms and you're consistent, say every day or regularly, that is very important, because then people will expect your content. And that'll work.
One more question, anybody?
Yeah. So you mentioned about following other people on Twitter.
Mm-hmm.
How do you keep up with so much information?
Well, I mean, it's for your page, right? So you need to, it's so important also.
He's talking about Twitter.
Yeah.
Twitter, right.
If
right.
you...
Because you're getting messages, I mean, you...
Oh, there's some great tools. So use TweetDeck or Hootsuite. And I can even show you at the end if you'd like. Because then you can sort, right? I remember this interview of a CEO who said, he was asked whether he was ever on Twitter. And he said, I can't afford not to be. Because what you can do is curate the important information that you want to know, and then you'll know it right off the bat if you're on Twitter, but you need a dashboard. And so I follow maybe 10,000 people, but I don't see their stream all the time. I have lists, and I review those streams based on what I'm doing that day.
Great. Time is ticking. We have one more question. No? Okay. Let's give them a great round of applause to our two guests today for the Verizon Small Businesses Empowerment Workshop.